this your host, Selah Shalom, and this is the Cosmon Teachings in the words of Jehovah and his angel ambassadors from the Cosmon Bible OWASP. And the topic of discussion today is going to be called Osiris the First and the Birth of the Shepherd Kings. Now Osiris came to the heavens of the earth when the earth entered the 21st arc cycle after the creation of man, the arc of Dai. And the time period and length of the 21st arc cycle is 3,300 years, or 3,300 years, from 10,353 BC to 7,053 BC is the cycle of Osiris the First. And the reason I say the first is because the false Osiris of Egypt came after this time. The time of the dynastics of Egypt took place in the 23rd arc cycle after the creation of man, the arc of Spita. And then time period of the length of the 23rd arc cycle is 2,400 years, or 2,400 years, from 3953 BC to 1553 BC. And this would place the dynastics of Egypt and the false Osiris in this time period, the time of the 23rd arc cycle. So Osiris the First came over 7,000 years before the false Osiris of Egypt. And I have a series of documentaries coming soon called The Wars Against Jehovah, where I'm going to explain the false Osiris of Egypt and the rise to his power. So stay tuned for that. Now back to Osiris the First. The Osirian religion was the directing of man's attention to the power and grandeur of corporeal worlds. The god Osiris' labor was to call mortals away from idol worship and make them scientists. Osiris was sent to the earth to develop corporeal brains in man, and he will stand to the end of time as the god of natural philosophy, as that term is understood. The ruined temples of India and Eastern Persia suggest that in the time of their building, the astronomers of those days knew nearly as much of heaven as we do today. Afterward, these things were taught in Egypt, when the first pyramids were built, according to the rules and prophecy. These astronomical desires came to man every 11,000, 6,000, 5,000 years based off the timetables of prophecy. Now, where did Osiris come from? Now, in the book of Osiris, son of Jehovah, chapter 1, verse 1 and 2, it states, Now came Osiris, son of Jehovah, to him on his throne in Lotsen, an ETHEREAN world, where his reign 100,000 years had illuminated many corporeal stars. Came the voice, the great spirit Jehovah, overall saying, verse 2, Osiris, Osiris, my son, forth from these immortal wards and grasp the perishable earth in its that beach flight, and proclaim with uplift rise thyself the one, the commanding God, as an indulgent father treads softly by his infant son, guiding him tenderly and with wholesome advice, so have I through my gods and chiefs the red star coax along for many, many thousands of years. But as a wise father turned to his tyrant son of later years, commanding thou shall and shall, so now do I through thee, my godly son, stretch my hands over the earth and her heavens. So here Jehovah calls his son Osiris when the earth enters the 21st arc cycle after the creation of man. And Osiris is called from the ETHEREAN world Lotsen, which is stationed within the 21st arc cycle, the arc of Dai. And the creator told Osiris to proclaim himself as the commander and god. Now, how many ETHEREAN hosts came with Osiris? Now, in the book of Osiris, son of Jehovah, chapter 2, verse 1, it states, Osiris said, In the name of the All-Light, I will have 50 million of my conquerors to do my will on earth and in heaven. So here Osiris states he will come with a host of 50 million from his ETHEREAN regions during his stay in the heavens of the earth to help lay down the new foundation. Now in the book of Osiris, son of Jehovah, chapter 12, verse 1 through 5, Osiris gives the timetables of prophecy. It states, verse 1, Osiris through his mathematicians now furnished the lords with maps of corporeal stars and moon and sun and the position of the earth with the sun belt, and bestowed the names of animals upon them, showed where the region of cows was, the place of bulls, the place of bears, the place of horses, the place of fishes, the place of scorpions, the place of sheep, the place of lions, the place of crabs, the place of death, the place of life, the place of Capricorn, and marked the seasons and made 12 sections, or months, to the year, which was the width of the sun belt, And he placed the sun in the midst and made lines thence to the stars, with explanations of the powers of the seasons on all living. So here Osiris is laying down the foundation of the zodiac calendar to mortals. In verse 3 it states, "And he gave the times of Jehovah, the 400 years of the ancients, and the half times of Dan, the base of prophecy, the variation of 33 years, the times of 11, the 7.5 times of the vortices of stars, so that the seasons might be foretold, and famine averted on the earth." Verse 4. "And when the tablets were completed and ready to deliver to the lords, Osiris said, Take these and bestow them on mortals, both through the oracles and by inspiration, making them sacred with the prophets, seers, and priests, and their kings and queens." Verse 5. "And ye shall inspire them to build temples of observation, to study the stars, teaching by the Ga, and by the travel of the sun, north and south, and by the sea nest, and by the dark chambers, that they may prove the fictus of Hawk, the fictus of Hack, for nothing shall be left undone or untaught, whereby man's corporeal senses shall not prove adequate to a perfect corporeal life." So here Osiris through his laws give to humans the tablets of prophecy, the 12 zodiacs, and the times of Jehovah, which is the 400-year cycles called a time, and the 200-year cycles called half times, the variation of 33 years called generations, the times of 11-year cycles called adis, the 7.5 times, which are the sub-cycles within 3,000 years, and the term fictus of Hack referred to 24,000-year period, which is 8 arc cycles of 3,000 years. This is what Osiris revealed to humans during his reign, 10,353 BC, and I explained these timetables of prophecy in a documentary I have called The Orbit of the Solar System. Now, the term cows and horses and bulls that were mentioned in the Vedic scripture do not refer to animals themselves, but to groups of stars with reference to their power on the males and females, or rather the positive and negative forces. Now in the Lord's 5th book, chapter 6, verse 3-8, it states, "The Lord provided unto the inhabitation of the earth oracle houses wherein the Lord could speak face to face with mortals through his angels, chosen for this purpose, did the Lord thus teach mortals." Verse 4. "Persuading them to industry and peace and righteousness after the manner of the Ions." Verse 5. "Teaching them of the stars and the sun and the moon, and showing them how to find the times and seasons of the earth." Verse 6. "Inspiring them to observe the stars and to name them, which names are preserved to this day." Verse 7. "And I have established landmarks, saith the Lord, what he giveth over his cruel practice by my command." Verse 8. "I called him to observe the stars, and he heeded my voice." So here it states it was the Lord in service to Osiris that inspired mortals to build oracle houses for mortals to talk face to face with the angels. And in verse 5 it states that the Lords taught mortals how to observe the times and seasons based off the sun, moon, and stars. And it also stated that mortals named the stars, which is referencing to the names of the zodiac stars. Now in the book of Osiris, son of Jehovah, chapter 11, verse 15-23, it states, "And ye shall inspire mortals to acquire a knowledge of the sun and moon and stars, giving names unto them, together with their places in the firmament." Verse 16. "And give them temples for observation, and tablets for instruction. For in all things ye shall direct man's soul to the acquisition of corporeal knowledge, causing him to look into corporeal things to find a reason for the behavior of all created substance. And they shall not in any sense longer depend on the spirits for knowledge nor truth." So here mortals are taught to observe the sun, moon, and stars, becoming astronomers and scientists, having temples for observation, and the Lords assisted man in these things. Verse 19. For I am not laying the foundation for spiritual knowledge on earth. That must come after. For as Jehovah gave to man a corporeal life and then a spiritual life, so am I laying a foundation for a new race, the Gans, on earth. For from their kin shall